Okay, we have another special tonight. Bay Laureate Worldwide with Chris Van Heerden. Did I get that right?
Perfect.
Thank you
Spot
so
on.
much, Chris. If I say the former IBO, was it light welterweight or welterweight champion?
Welterweight. Former unbeaten IBO welterweight champion.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about you. First of all, you're from South Africa, but let's get a little bit more about you, Chris.
You know what? Boxing. I'm one of 7 boys. I've got 6 brothers. My father was a heavyweight prospect boxer back in South Africa, and that's how Chris Van Heerden got introduced to boxing. My dad made his boys do boxing, and you know what? I grew up in a tough family. It was hard in South Africa, but it was beautiful.
Okay, so
you know,
so growing up, who are the people that you look to in boxing?
in boxing, all-time favorite, Ray Leonard. And when I came to America, the first thing I told the people, I said, I want to meet Ray Leonard. This is my opportunity. I'm here. And I shook hands with Ray Leonard. It was it was such a proud and emotional moment for me. And Ray Leonard, the man.
Okay, wow. So you can't beat a bit of sugar, can you?
Hey man, sugar was just smooth and beautiful.
Okay, so let's go back to you. Let's go back to let's talk about your career in South Africa.
You know, I turned professional at 2006, and I went unbeaten as a welterweight in my country. I fought the best of the best. I fought the Commonwealth gold medalist at Bongani Molas, who was 15-0. Big rivalry. That was supposed to fight. Everyone said he's going to knock me out. I smashed him over 12 rounds. I beaten Kaiser Mabuza, former world champion, came to America, beating Ken Old. I've beaten him. You know what? I rise to the top in South Africa in my career. South African champion, WBC Africa champion, former IBO world champion. And there was just nothing left for me back in South Africa.
But you know,
I wanted to conquer.
But you could have stayed in South Africa and filled out arenas and brought fighters to South Africa rather than you leave South Africa and go to America. Why did you make that choice?
Absolutely, and that is what everyone is doing. You know, they stay in the country. Let's use South Africa. The fighters, the top fighters there, they stay there, and they're afraid to step out. Me, I was just not happy with just being that guy. I said, I want to go out there, and I want to go to America, and I want to be able to be in the ring with the best in the world, and I want to fight them in America. And you know what? Some people say I was crazy to do it. Some people acknowledge what I'm doing, and I've got to say, you know what? It takes guts to do it, and I'm doing it in my life. I'm living my career.
Let's talk about your experiences as a fighter in South Africa in terms of the sort of quality of sparring you were getting. Were you getting fighters coming in from abroad to come in and get sparring, or were you just using this?
That is a big part why. That's a big part why I'm so happy in America. No, negative. You know what? There wasn't the top quality sparring back in South Africa. They didn't bring sparring in for me, so you had to adjust to what you have. And like fighting Matthew Hatton, which was a big fight. I had one sparring partner in South Africa. You know, there was. Wait,
hold on. Let's start this again. You had one sparring partner for your fight against Matthew Hatton.
That's it. The same guy, because of the lack of quality sparring. And you know, you had to be happy, and you had to do your best and believe that
South Africa's a huge place.
It is a huge place. It is a huge place. It is such a huge place. You know what? There was a few guys that came in, but they just don't stick around. You know, I had one quality sparring partner that sticks around.
Really? That bad?
Yeah, you know, if you talk about real quality, you know, even though we do have so much talent back home, you know, it's just a lack of real quality.
And why is there that lack of quality? Is it investment from the government or?
Yeah, no, it's the way some. How can I say it? There's a lot of. I don't want to say hate, because hate is the wrong word. People just, you know, they don't want to reach out. You know, if you want, it's difficult to say. Just don't want to work together. It's difficult to say. You know what I mean?
So, okay, let's talk about, because I have to mention it, you're South African, and the first thing you come and say, South Africa, Mandela.
Oh, beautiful.
Where were you at the time, or how were you and the whole apartheid thing as a white South African how did Chris Van Heerden, how did you fit into that political climate?
You know, I was a young kid though. So if you go at that, I was still a baby. I was a young kid when that happened. I was born in '87.
Right.
So when everything started changing in '94, you know, to me it was normal. You know, my best friends are the opposite race, and
Right.
you know, to me, it really didn't. Honestly, to me, it didn't affect me. There's no racism in the house I was brought up.
Right.
I guess that plays a big part. The house I was brought up in, my parents, they did not stand for racism. You know, they stood for, you know what? You cut the man, he's bleeding, his blood is red. We are all the same.
Right.
And that is how I got raised. And I guess thanks to my family, that's why I didn't have a problem with it. Because
Right.
we got raised, you know what, equal.
Because I've got to ask the question, because it's all, well, you could say, oh, you know, we could do a nice interview and say, oh, this is Chris and he was the IBO champion, he's going to fight in America. But people would ask me, wait, hold on a second, he's from South Africa. He must have gone through somehow to do the apartheid. And he must have gone through something or experienced things.
Yeah.
And me as an interviewer, getting to know you as a
Yes.
human being, never mind your boxing career,
Yeah.
me wanting to know who you are, the heart of who you are. So when you're on that television, I can say, I spoke to Chris. Not just Chris, who's fighting tonight in Madison Square Garden. No, I spoke to Chris and got to find out who he really was. So that when viewers watch you, they think, here's a guy that's been through South Africa and experienced certain things and seen certain things. That he's not just a shallow fighter. Because today, in boxing, we've got a lot of sound bites. I'm in great shape. Best shape of my life. He looks in great shape. Yeah, the camp's gone well. Never been better. We've heard all that stuff before. So
Absolutely.
for me, I want to ask you questions that really dig down to find out who you
Perfect.
are as a
And I love
fighter.
that. And that's what I love. You know, to answer a question like that. You know what? Like I said, you know, with all the apartheid, there was times when we were challenged, and you know, the apartheid and the racism thing has got brought up. But once again, that I was strong enough to know how I got raised, and I'm strong enough to know better. And you know what? We are all equal in the eyes of God. We are all equal. We are one. We are brothers. That is what we are, and
So,
I love it.
and how did you have to overcome fellow white South Africans who did not agree with you, maybe mixing with black?
You know, you would end up in an argument, and you know what, I'm not someone that's scared to speak my way. And when I got approached in ways like that, I'm the kind of man that would stand up and say, listen here, buddy, that's your view. I respect your view, but you got to respect you as well. You know what, you can't change me, okay? And it's wrong. And you know, you deal with people that from both ways that still sticks to the racism part. And you know what, unfortunately, it's not easy to change them. But
Absolutely.
what you can do is you can speak your mind and not give them the satisfaction of agreeing with them. And you know what? You know, when I get dealt with stuff like that, I open my mouth, and I speak my way.
Okay.
If I feel it's wrong, I'm going to tell you. Well, that's how you feel, but me, I see it differently. And I think that is a big part. A lot of people are afraid to speak their minds.
Right.
You know, when they get pushed in a corner, they will agree, just to get out of the corner. Me, you know what, speak your way. And you know what, if you leave a little thought with that guy, it's gonna bother him. If it was a positive and good thought, you know what, he's gonna go home tonight, and somewhere what you said to him, it's gonna pop up. And I guess that's the mentality that I grew up with, and that is why I didn't have a problem at all with the whole apartheid and the history in South Africa.
Okay, so from a boxing...
Oh,
Okay,
can I say this, by the way?
go ahead.
I have to say that I am followed, if not, I have more, if the opposite race supporting me, then you know, I've got big support back home. But I am proud to say that I have a big opposite race support back South Africa.
Wow.
They love me.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have them supporting me because of the history of my country.
Wow. So I want to talk about the fight between you and Matthew Hatton. That was an international fight that had lots of ramification because Hatton had come off fighting Canelo.
Yes.
You know,
Survived 12 rounds.
I went 12 rounds with Canelo. So he was also the brother of Ricky Hatton, who'd fought Pacquiao and fought Mayweather. So Hatton came to South Africa with a mission to become champion of the world. And here you are in South Africa on probably at that time the biggest platform of your career, because
that was.
So how much did that fight mean to you with Hatton coming to South Africa?
Wow, you know what? Just touching back to remember him fighting Canelo, I was like sitting on the bed with my dad one day watching that fight. I was like, Dad, if only one day I can fight these guys and just see what I can do. You know, it would just be an honor for me. And my dad said, you'll get there, my son. And not long after that fight, I got approached with that fight, and I was like, wow. I said yes before the phone. You know, the phone rang and said, we got an interesting proposal for you. Would you love to fight Matthew Hatton? The first thing I said was, yes, please. And when I hang up the phone, I was like, oh, damn. You know what? I just said yes to a fight I might just get beaten up. You know, this is a superstar, because that is how I saw them.
Yes.
As superstars. And it was an honor for me fighting Matthew Hatton. I respect him today so much.
What did you learn from the Hatton fight? What did the Hatton fight teach you?
You know, it wasn't the fight I wanted. Why? Because of the bad cut over my eye. Matthew spoiled the fight by holding on, because we had a game plan: protect the face, get close to the body, and then start working the inside. Every time we got close to the inside, because of the bad cut, Matthew would grab and hold me for dear life. I shook Matthew twice. I had him almost down twice. But because of the nasty cut over my eye, I was limited to take chances, because the referee was from Manchester. And I was, in my mind, I was thinking, the referee is from Manchester. I got to be careful he doesn't stop the fight because of the bad bleeding.
Right.
Luckily, he didn't. So my game plan didn't work according to what I believe I could have stopped Matthew, because I stung him twice. And if he didn't hold on and allow me to what as I knew I could, he was going to be out of it. But then again, experience from his side and me learning the ways, you know, he survived by holding on and spoiling the fight.
See, I did read back in the fight, and people online were pretty critical and said, oh, well, you know, Chris struggled against a faded Matthew Hatton. But now I'm discovering now you had one sparring partner for the fight. So
I was very limited to getting the quality I needed.
So when you put that back then, you kind of put it into perspective. Matthew Hatton probably had quite a few sparring partners coming into the fight. He was probably more better prepared than you were.
He was 110% prepared, I can tell you that. Because he told me that. He said, I've never trained in my life as hard, because I know I can beat you, and I know this is my time. And I knew he prepared very well.
Wow. So that was, would you say that was the best fight, the toughest opponent you'd fought in your career at that point?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
No, it wasn't.
Not at all. I fought so much tougher opposition in Matthew Hatton.
Really?
Yes, sir.
So,
I can gladly say that.
So you would say that Matthew Hatton was the biggest name on your record that was known?
By far the biggest name on my record? Yes, sir.
But not the best fighter that you fought?
Not the toughest or the best fighter I've ever fought, no.
Who was the toughest guy you fought?
The toughest guy I fought must have been Kaiser Mabuza, for one. Because he was just, you know, that guy could really hit, and he was tough. He was a real fighter. And then my loss on my record against Nicholas Stevanovic back in Serbia. Even though I still believe I won that fight.
Yeah.
You know, they gave it to him, but it was a tough fight. You know, the guy kept on coming. He was a quality fighter. It was tough. It was my first time out of my country. I never knew what to experience. The crowd was against me. And I was hitting this guy with solid shots, and he didn't go nowhere. You know, he made me throw so much punches. I did, but that was two fights. Nicholas Stevanovic, Kaiser Mabuza, my toughest. By far tougher than Matthew Hatton.
So, in that fight, you're away from home, much like you'll be in America, away from home, having to deal with different circumstances, and you've just now lost your unbeaten record.
Yes.
Did you learn more from losing in that fight and bring you down to sort of like, you know what, now I've lost.
Yes,
I know what I need to do now to improve.
I've learned so much out of that fight. One, I think the most important thing I've learned out of that fight was that when you lose, it's not the end of the world. And even though I lost and I knew I won, the feeling I felt from losing, not a nice feeling. I was so used to getting my hand raised every time, and for the first time ever, my hand doesn't get raised. It was not a good feeling, and that feeling, I said, you know what, I don't want to feel that again. And the fact, I think the most important thing I've learned is, if you lose, it's not the end of the world. You pick your hands up, and you will move on to the next step. And that's what I think a lot of fighters need to realize, that when you have an unbeaten record, one day someone might just step up and take your record your own away, and they need to realize it's not the end of the world.
So, okay, so you lose your unbeaten record. Of course, you've got people on a bandwagon when you're unbeaten. Oh, he's unbeaten, he's this, he's that. You get beaten, you go back to South Africa. How do people embrace you?
With open arms. You know why?
Why?
Because we got a hold of the footage of the fight, and we played it in South Africa on national TV, because I wanted people. It was, when I lost, I thought everyone was going to discriminate me and be against me and say, oh, you know, and but I knew if I can get the footage and play the fight for them to see that I didn't really lose the fight, that might change the opinion. And that is what we did. And you know what? After playing it on national TV, I got to say, I think my name got bigger after, because people never lost that fight. Wow. And, you know, I never lost a fan base. It just grew.
Do you think now that you've got a loss on your record, it's going to enable you to get more fights because you have that one in your record?
Oh, yes. In a big way, in some way, I think people will look at it like, oh, well, you know, if my record said 22-0, people will go, damn. You know, this is, wow, we got to be careful, stay away from him. But now it says 21-1, and they go, well, we lost before. You know, the kids lost before. And I think that they estimate me in that sense, which is okay, but I'm going to agree with you. I think it limits me to the respect I deserve, or it limits me to what I could potentially be landing as a big fight.
Okay, so the Mayweather approach is, well, his blueprint has been beaten once, so he can be beaten again. That's what Mayweather would say. Have you had a dream fight with him? He would say, well, Chris has been beaten once, so he can be beaten again. However, if you look into that fight and people say, well done, he didn't actually get beat, you are basically still an unbeaten fighter.